but Debby and Mido are married. They actually got married December 12th, and I think they filed in November.
With 73 days until they have to get married or Mido has to go back to Egypt, we see Mido heading off to acting.
Okay, so while you guys were watching Debby and Mido scream at each other, and then watch her drive off and leave him to call his own rideshare, here's the part nobody on your screen wanted you to know yet. They were already married, not engaged, not thinking about it. And the wildest part, the wedding happened before that fight even aired, which means everything you thought you were watching unfold in real time had already been decided months ago. Let's get into it, because this one completely flips the script for the whole season. First, a quick recap, in case you blinked and missed it. This season, Debby and Mido have been the couple everyone loves to worry about. Mido shows up, checked out half the time, more interested in talking about his career than actually being present with Debby. Then we got the haunted house outing. It was supposed to be a fun little Halloween thing, since it was Mido's first ever Halloween. Instead, he left such a bad taste in the mouths of Debby's friends that the night spiraled. From there, it escalated into a full-blown yelling match that seemingly came out of nowhere. The kind of blow-up that was so intense, producers actually had to step in. Let that sink in for a second. It takes a lot for production to break the fourth wall on this show. And it ended with Debby getting in her car and driving off, leaving her own fiancé standing there having to call a rideshare home. If you watched that episode, you were probably thinking, okay, this is it. This is the beginning of the end for them. That is exactly the storyline the show wanted you to believe. Except, surprise, that breakup energy you were feeling? It was already irrelevant by the time it hit your screen. Here's the reveal. Less than 24 hours after that explosive episode aired, an Instagram account known for digging up reality TV receipts dropped a bombshell. Documents showing that Debby and Mido are already legally married, not engaged, not planning a wedding. Actually, married. And get this, they didn't even get married where you'd expect. Mido has made it pretty clear throughout the season that Hollywood is basically his dream destination. But the wedding didn't happen there, it happened in New Orleans. According to records that have been independently verified, the couple was issued their marriage license on November 17th, 2025, and they officially tied the knot on December 12th, 2025. So sit with that timeline for a second, because this is where it gets really interesting. That haunted house outing, the one that triggered the blow-up fight you just watched, that happened around Halloween. So, late October, the marriage license was filed about 3 weeks after that, on November 17th, and the actual wedding ceremony happened less than a month later, on December 12th. Which means, in real time, in the actual order that things happened in Debby and Mido's lives, the fight came first, and the wedding came after. Not months after either. Weeks. They had this massive blow-up, the kind serious enough to need a producer to step in, and then a few weeks later, they said I do. But because of how TV production timelines work, with months of delay between filming and air date, you didn't experience it in that order. You watched the fight unfold on your screen as this live, unresolved, will they or won't the moment. Meanwhile, in actual reality, that question had already been answered. They were already husband and wife by the time that episode even made it to TLC. The entire dramatic tension the editors built around whether this couple was falling apart? Already moot. Already settled. The suspense was fake, not because the fight didn't happen, but because the ending had already happened too. We just didn't know it yet. That is genuinely one of the wildest timeline twists this franchise has pulled in a while, and I don't think people are talking about it enough yet. Now, here's what makes this even messier. As of right now, neither Debby nor Mido has said a single word about this marriage on their own social media. No announcement, no confirmation, no cute wedding photo dump. Nothing. Complete silence on the actual headline. But here's the thing. Debby hasn't gone quiet about Mido in general. She's continued posting photos with him pretty regularly since all of this. In fact, right after that explosive episode aired, she posted something that almost reads like a coded message. A stock photo with the words, "Just breathe" on it, captioned with something like, "Just taking a moment to breathe." Make of that what you will, but the timing is not exactly subtle. So you've got a couple who got married in secret, didn't tell their audience, didn't tell their followers, and is now just quietly continuing to post like nothing happened, while the internet slowly puts the pieces together on its own. That is a very specific kind of avoidance, and fans have noticed. Speaking of fans, the reaction has been a lot, and I mean a lot. On Debby's own Instagram, people aren't holding back. One comment that's gotten a lot of traction basically said that Mido hasn't shown her any real love based on what's been shown, and that the commenter genuinely feels for her. That's not a hater being dramatic for engagement. That reads like real concern. And over on Reddit, the discourse got even more pointed. One comment described Mido as basically having the emotional maturity of a child, and went on to say that Debby deserves some of the blame too. Not because she did anything wrong exactly, but because she keeps tolerating behavior that most people wouldn't. The same comment pointed out that Mido has likely never had to take on real responsibility outside of chasing whatever he considers his career. And look, I want to be careful here, because these are just fan opinions, not confirmed facts about either of their characters. We don't actually know what their relationship looks like behind closed doors. But I do think it's worth saying out loud that a lot of viewers are genuinely worried for Debby right now. Not mocking her. Worried. There's a difference between people dragging someone for laughs and people watching a pattern play out and going, hey, this doesn't look great. This is leaning a lot more toward the second one. And that worry doesn't exist in a vacuum either. This ties directly into something that's been simmering all season. Mido's intentions have been questioned pretty much from the jump. Is he actually here for Debby, or is he here because this show is basically a fast track to a US visa and whatever Hollywood opportunities he thinks come with reality TV fame? Debby has defended him on this more than once. Every time someone brings up the visa angle or the career angle, she's the one stepping in to insist that no, he's here for her. This is real. His feelings are genuine. So now, you've got this marriage news landing on top of months of her publicly defending him against exactly the kind of accusation that this timeline seems to feed right into. They had a massive blow-up fight. Weeks later, they're married, and the one person who's spent the whole season saying his motives are pure is also the one who just quietly signed the paperwork, making this whole situation a lot more permanent and a lot more complicated to walk away from if it ever needed to. I want to be clear about something before we keep going. Everything about the actual marriage itself, the dates, the documents, all of that, comes from records that have been independently verified. So that part is solid. But how it happened emotionally, what conversations led up to it, whether the wedding was already planned before that fight even occurred, all of that is still reportedly the case, based on outside reporting and insider accounts, not an official statement from Debby Mido or TLC. So treat the relationship details with that grain of salt, even though the paper trail itself is real. But even with that caveat, just think about what this means for how we're all watching this show. We assume we're watching things unfold roughly in the order they happened. We are not. Producers and editors get to choose what tension to build, when to release information, and how to frame a fight so it lands exactly the way they want it to land on you. Emotionally. In this case, they let an entire audience sit there worried that this couple was about to implode, when in actual reality, the couple had already walked down the aisle. That is either really clever editing or really manipulative editing, depending on how generous you're feeling today. Probably, honestly, a little bit of both. So here's my actual take on this whole thing. I don't think this marriage automatically proves Mido is faking it, and I also don't think it automatically proves Debby is making a mistake. People get married for all kinds of reasons, and sometimes a relationship genuinely does get stronger after a huge blow-up. That does happen in real life. But I also can't ignore the pattern here. A serious enough fight that producers stepped in, followed weeks later by a quiet, courthouse-style decision to make it legally permanent, followed by total public silence about it. That combination raises real questions. Not because love can't survive a bad fight, but because the timeline makes it look like this was less about working through something together and more about locking it in before either of them had time to fully think it through. So I'll leave you guys with this. Do you think Debby knew exactly what she was signing up for when she said yes? Or is this one of those cases where love really is blind, and she's about to find out the hard way what she actually agreed to? Let me know what you think in the comments, because I am genuinely curious where the audience lands on this one. And honestly, this whole situation has me wanting to go back and really dig into who Mido actually is, where he came from, what his life looked like before this show, and whether the visa and career theory holds up once you actually look at his background. So that is exactly what we're doing in the next video. And trust me, there is a lot more here than people realize.